to see a president of the United States in a debate with a potential president of the United States refuse to condemn white supremacists.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
supremacists and
white supremacists. Like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Go online. Look at Proud Boys. They got a new emblem now, literally. It says stand down and stand by, implying that if he loses the election, something may have to be done. I promise you that won't happen.
If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
And in terms of whether or not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
But isn't just like a Democratic or Republican debate. That's the exchange of ideas. That's what we came here to do. This is something quite different, undermining our institutions, undermining our democracy by the President of the United States.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
You pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the wrong night at
Go.
the wrong time.
Listen,
Please let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
2.
He just lost the left.
Folks,
absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
name,
what
that's
this clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it-
Vote now.
You're gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't
you're
want
a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
your,
man?
Listen, who is?
I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman. Feeling
And
healthy.
this is NewsRap, live at 5.
Get it?
My.
Here we are.
Here we are. Now that was, by the way, folks, that was cut together wonderfully by
Great
our
job.
team, by Jared and Joshua. This one by Jared, I think. We cut this together before we heard, of course, the news last night that the president has tested positive for COVID-19 and now is on his way to the hospital.
Hey, Barry.
Yeah.
I can see my TV from here.
Yeah.
And it's just been reported on CNN that the president is having some trouble breathing.
Oh, my. Well, he'll get to have an experience that no one should want to have, but
And this is the quote.
he'll know what it's like then probably to be on some kind of breathing apparatus, hopefully not a ventilator, but
Well, let me give you the quote.
okay.
Quote is that they think he is okay for now, but the fear is that it could change quickly.
Well, I mean, he does have some heart issues.
Yep.
And he's in my age range,
And he's in bad
older.
and-
He's a little older than I am. He's 74.
And he's obese.
And yeah, he's a little larger than I am, although I've got a little bit of a chubby pot belly. But that's another story for another
You're in
day.
much better shape than he is, Barry.
Well, I don't know. Before we came on the air, I got a text message from James Farr asking what happens. It's a reasonable question to ask. It's a morbid question to ask. But he asked what happens if a presidential nominee does not make it to the election. And I did some research on it. And frankly, it is so complicated. Again, we're in a situation where there are really no rules. One would think, oh, this happens, right? This is what happens. You can look it up and this is what happens. But it isn't. It's, the DNC and the RNC have the right, apparently, to have their members choose a replacement nominee. But the problem is, because we have a 50-state system, that nominee probably is not going to get on the ballot on at least half the states.
And the votes that have gone to Trump stay with Trump. They don't automatically go to the next guy. Those people
No,
can't
they
vote.
do not. They do
and those
not.
people cannot vote again.
No. So, it's not as if you'd say, oh, well, if he doesn't make it, it goes to the other guy on the ticket. That might be logical. That's what happens with the presidency. But on the other hand, it's not what's going to happen if God forbid, that actually happens. And, it's not, whatever we think of Donald Trump, it's never, ever, ever good for the country to have an incapacitated president. I was a Democrat when Reagan got shot, and I remember living through that, and I remember how scared people were. Now, of course, that was the time of the Cold War, and what would the Soviet Union do? And we're not in that situation right now, but still, it can be tremendously destabilizing.
Well, I think it's
and we saw it with the
destabilizing.
stock market. We saw it with the stock market.
I think I'm going to say two things about that. I think it's destabilizing because of the fear of what's ahead.
Right.
I think with Kennedy and with Reagan, we were in a heightened time of we were in the Cold War, I guess in both. But even with Kennedy, because of the Bay of Pigs and that stuff was fresh on people's minds. So what are the Soviets going to do in both cases? And even with Reagan, a lot of people may not remember, there was a moment there when they thought the Soviets was making moves, but they had planned war games, which everyone had forgotten about when that stuff started.
Hi, Sheila.
I think here, a big part of the issue, what I was impressed today, was Biden's efforts to bring the country together when he did his speech. Now, I don't know if you saw it.
I did.
Or not.
I did.
But I thought Biden did a good job of trying to bring the country together, even though that wasn't the focus of his speech. When he touched on it,
right.
He didn't dog Trump. He didn't dog the GOP. He sent his well wishes, but it was an effort to bring the country together. And I think that's what we need. That was weird to see because I had forgotten that presidents do that, because it's been so long since we saw a president do that.
Well, that's exactly what presidents are supposed to do.
And that's what they're supposed to do.
And party is supposed to kind of disappear at a time like this. And now we're an incredibly divided nation. And, the issues that divide us are not going to disappear simply because the president is sick and we wish him well. Those issues are still there. And they were really on display, if anything was on display, during the debate, because that debate and the president's performance, and we were going to talk about it anyway, and I don't think we can shy away from it simply because he's in a hospital. His performance was shameful. I have never, ever, ever seen anything like that. And
His performance was so bad that people are saying there are some people who believe he's lying about COVID, so he won't have to debate again. I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't think that's no.
I don't think it's the
I think
case,
he could have found a better lie than that. Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I think he has COVID.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are questioning and who believe he's trying to get out of debating. You know what? It was so bad. It was so reprehensible. It wasn't bad. It was reprehensible. It was so reprehensible. I left saying they don't need to do another one of these. Now, obviously, they're going to attempt to. Maybe not the second one.
Well, we don't know now. Now we don't know. The second one is Kamala and Pence.
Well, the second presidential debate will be canceled because I think
that'll be the 15th. So
that's less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, but it depends on how he is. Now, you were saying that, of course, he's sick now. So the symptoms have to go away, and then he has to be quarantined. I don't think he has to be quarantined after the symptoms go away, except for about 10 days or something. Or
it's so this is what they were doing at the beginning, and I haven't seen anything that says they changed this.
Okay.
So if you are exposed to someone and they have reason to think that you may be catching the virus, initially it was okay. Hey, quarantine for 14 days and we'll test you.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could get 2 tests within, I think, about 10 or 12 days. And if you pass, you needed 2 clean tests. Mm-hmm. Then it became, if you have the virus and you show symptoms, then you have to remain quarantined until those symptoms pass. And then you have to pretty much get through 14 days without symptoms. Yeah. So whenever he is deemed better, he's got to do about 2 weeks of quarantine at that point and then pass a test.
I know.
So we could literally be talking about, let's say that he gets better right around the 16th, that symptoms go away. He could be done. He could be out of quarantine right around November 1. That's if he just has 2 weeks of symptoms, because he has to go 2 weeks without symptoms.
Right.
So,
and of course, the question is right now, what does Biden do? Does he take himself off the trail for that entire time?
Because he said he would not.
He did say he's not?
He said he's not suspending his campaign. He's not taking himself off the trail.
Okay.
Which is amazing to see how Biden's potential ascension to the president mirrors Obama's. Because remember, John McCain suspended his campaign.
Yeah.
When the economy fell.
When the economy fell.
And requested Obama do the same, and Obama refused to do it. So,
well, I think, unfortunately, there is a moral lesson to be learned here. And the lesson is that if you're going to argue with science, ultimately science is going to win.
Well, and the bigger lesson,
that's what's happened here, because, he knew what he had to do. We all know what we have to do. And he didn't do it, even to the point of not taking the test on Tuesday. So, and having his whole entourage without masks. And so I hope we learn a lesson from this, which is that this is no freaking joke, people.
And you know what? It does not cost you a dime or any extra time to put on a mask.
Right.
Just put on the damn mask.
I know.
That's the moral. Put on the damn mask.
Well, he was wearing one on the way to the helicopter today.
And he might have an oxygen mask on for right now, for all we know.
Well, we don't know.
And
folks, if you want to get in on this conversation, you can do it. You can comment on Facebook. We're here chatting. And so we'd love to hear from you and love to know your thoughts about all of this, because this is pretty momentous stuff, people.
Yeah.
When a president is in the hospital, that's momentous.
Let me ask you this, Barry.
Yeah, and then we'll go to local. Go ahead.
I was probably conceived around the time of the Kennedy assassination. I was born 9 months later.
Yeah.
You were around at that point. Does this feel like that?
Very much around. I was at the Kennedy assassination. I was in high school.
So does this feel like that? I know the love for Kennedy.
Not yet. He's alive. No.
No, I mean, but do you have the sense that people are feeling that same kind of unknown, that same kind of what's next is what I'm asking.
Yes, yes. I think so. I don't know if people have totally digested it yet. I mean, this is a whole weird kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's not like an assassin's bullet and he's in the hospital and they're working on him. So it's very hard for me to compare the two. It would be tough for me to compare the two at this point. If we learn that he's takes a turn for the worse, God forbid, and if he, if he ends up on a ventilator, then it's going to feel like the Kennedy situation. But
all right,
yeah.
You want to do local now and then come back for those comments?
Let's do local. We'll come back for comments. Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
This is your local news brief for Friday, October 2nd, 2020. The Pasadena Public Health Department has reported 2,599 total confirmed cases as of October 1st. The department is also reporting that there has now been a total of 124 COVID-related deaths. Pasadena and the rest of LA County avoided a dreaded spike in COVID cases from Labor Day weekend activities. Cases had spiked as a result of Memorial Day and the 4th of July weekends. On Wednesday, September 30th, LA County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer announced that nail salons, indoor malls, and outdoor card rooms will be allowed to reopen soon. Nail salons opened October 1st. Outdoor card rooms can begin operating on October 5th, while indoor shopping malls can reopen on October 7th. These reopened businesses must operate at a maximum of 25% capacity and are not allowed to serve food or drinks. Mayor Terry Tornick and Councilmember Victor Gordo will face off in another debate Sunday, October 11th. The debate will be co-hosted by the Pasadena Community Coalition, the Pasadena Star News, and The Conversation Live. This is the fourth mayoral race-related forum ahead of the November 3rd runoff election. 2 weeks ago, the two candidates participated in a town hall forum organized by the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters Pasadena area. Although an audience was not allowed to enter the city council chamber during the debate, Tornick and Gordo answered questions provided online by the community. On Tuesday, the Pasadena Women's Coalition hosted another online forum focused on issues important to women, which was sponsored by the National Women's Political Caucus of the Greater Pasadena area and 6 other local women's organizations. Last night, NAACP Pasadena, Hood Liberation, and Pasadena Young Leaders co-sponsored a debate focused on issues raised by millennials. All 3 of those forums are available on Pasadena Media's YouTube page. Next Sunday's debate will be streamed on Pasadena Star News' website and the Conversation Live's Facebook page. 2 assembly bills aimed at fighting inequality and inequity were signed into law Wednesday by Governor Gavin Newsom. Authored by Assemblyman Chris Holden, AB 979 requires publicly held corporations in California to begin the process of diversifying their boards and directors. Holden says the new law represents a big step forward for racial equity. While some corporations were already leading the way to combat implicit bias, now all of California's corporate boards will better reflect the diversity of our state. Holden also supported AB 3121, a first-of-its-kind state law, also known as the Task Force to Study and Develop Reparations Proposals for African Americans. While California was not a slaveholding state, Governor Newsom acknowledges the fact that African Americans and other people of color face discrimination and disadvantages. Don't forget about the 2020 census. More information can be found at my2020census.gov.
Don't miss that special. It's going to be great with Hoyt. Yeah, it's really important. So try to see it. on October 6th. I think I do want to get to the mayoral race here.
Okay.
But we did get comments in while the news brief was going. So I think we should take those first.
All right.
And we're going to do that. So James Farr, unfortunately speaks from experience because his mom had COVID. And James Farr says that the answer to how long you're out of commission, he says it's isolation for 14 days, then 10 to 14 days of quarantine.
And that's what I said. So we're talking about a month at least.
We're talking about a month. That's the election. That's no more anything if that's
no more
what
debates,
happens.
No more rallies.
Now that may not happen if he recovers and he's tested negative. He may not have to quarantine after that.
Well, he's got to show 14. He's got to do his 14.
Well, the 14 days he has to show. It depends on how quickly he recovers.
But after symptoms. So go ahead.
Yeah, but the tough thing is that James says his mom is still recovering from COVID, and that was in July.
Wow.
So this thing is a miserable bug. Aaron Harris.
The Aaron Harris experience.
Yep. And says Mr. Trump is now, paying for his hubris. He's Icarus who flew too close to the sun.
You're struggling with that one.
I don't think we have to comment on that.
You're struggling with that one a little bit, aren't you?
Well, I don't like to pound on people when they're down.
Let me take that one for you.
Not my style. Okay.
Let me take that one for you.
Okay.
He's taken an ass whooping, and it's the ass whooping he may, in fact, have called onto himself. Look.
Yeah.
This is a problem of his making. He was in charge of the virus. He did not take the virus seriously. Now, that's not to pile on or anything like that. But look, if he had taken it serious and said it was serious and wore the mask, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But dig this. The way you feel right now, has anybody on TV shown that for the 200,000 people who are dead? Because I haven't seen it.
Nope.
CNN keeps telling me they're sending how they don't want anything bad to happen to the president. I dig that if that's where they are. But
wait a minute. No, if you're asking anybody, Nicole Wallace every day has a segment honoring one of the 200,000 dead and talking about their life.
And that's where we should be.
Yeah,
that's where we should be.
She does that.
Right. We should not act like this.
It's called a life well lived, and she is honoring these people.
So what
about the woman who died? I think she was a nurse. She was some kind of essential worker, and she died, and then her mother died after that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is the weight we're giving this moment, yes, it's deserving of a president, but a lot of American citizens have died from this virus, and they deserve to be remembered and respected the same way.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you, and I'm glad you said that. Sarah has said, I wonder how his supporters will feel if he dies. Will they realize they were wrong about COVID, or will they find a way to blame the left?
They're going to say that Biden gave it to them.
I understand that there are conspiracy theories already out there.
Well, yeah, of course. These are morons who think JFK Jr. is alive. What do you expect?
Yeah, I understand.
And let me know if JFK Jr. shows up at Walter Reed to save him.
They were talking about the fact that there are already conspiracy theories. So some people are never going to. And will they realize they were wrong? Who knows? I don't know. Look, this is an awkward situation because every time I saw him at a rally, I thought, frankly, first about all of the other people at the rally and what he was doing to put them at risk. And as a matter of fact, in Nevada, now I'm doing what I said I wouldn't do, but in Nevada, he was interviewed and as he was walking off the stage. And they basically asked him, well, don't you feel, at risk? And he said, well, you're at risk. you're the ones who are at risk. I'm 200 feet away. Well, he wasn't 200 feet away from Hopix. It was not a miracle. It did not disappear.
Apparently.
And now he understands maybe that.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
I'm jump in. Apparently, he wasn't far enough away from Tom Tillis either, because Senator Tom Tillis has now tested positive for the virus.
And Mike Lee is tested positive for the virus.
So I know.
And Herman Cain died from the virus. After
I know
the
you're
Republican
ready to transition
convention.
on to the local brief we just saw, or the local mega brief we just saw. But let me ask you this before we do that. And this goes back to the news element of this.
Okay.
How many? Mitch McConnell is still saying that there is going to be a vote next week for the Supreme Court justice.
Mm-hmm.
We know that at least, what was it, 1 or 2 Republican senators said that they will not vote to confirm this justice.
Right. And if Tillis and Lee can't show up, then that doesn't happen.
Well, they have to quarantine for 14 days. So how do they do this now?
Well, quarantine doesn't mean that they can't get on a Zoom and vote. Now, I don't know, because up to now, I don't believe he's permitted votes from a distance, but I don't really know. I'd have to look that up.
So it might be legal for them to do that. So we probably need to look up what the procedure is, or maybe one of our astute viewers can look up or try to help us figure that out.
Yeah, because I really don't know what they've decided to do. But what they'll decide to do is whatever gets that nomination through.
Right,
that's what they'll decide to do.
It'll benefit them. All right, let's. I know you want to pivot to local, so let me toss you that lifeline.
Well, thank you. 15 seconds. Don't think I can do it. So, do you want to stay on? You want to stay on Facebook and talk about the mayor's race?
Let's stay on for about 5 minutes. Talk mayor's race.
Let's do that. All right, that's it for us on air. We're moving to Facebook. I'm Barry Gordon.
Heading to Studio B, I'm Andre Coleman.
This is NewsRap, live at 5.